Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. This one's actually going to be a short update. I had some time after doing some work this evening and I went online and I just made sure to check out all of the latest news about GM, the Chevy Bolt EV and whatnot, and I figured I'd give you guys a quick update of some things that have happened. I use apps on my phone and on the iPad and even on the computer to kind of bring all my news together in one spot. And for some strange reason, what I'm about to share with you never made it into those apps. If it wasn't for the fact that I was sitting on the computer and I went through some of the, Car and Driver, Detroit Free Press, and a few other sites, I would have never seen what I'm about to share with you. So it's two things. I guess some of it's expected, and the other part is kind of, a little bit of a brow-raising situation. At least for me, it was when I read it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is essentially the fact that GM has decided to raise the prices of both the Bolt EV and the Bolt EUV for the 2023 model year, I guess you can call it. And I wrote it down so I wouldn't get the numbers skewed up, but it looks like the Bolt EV is going up $900 MSRP, and the Bolt EUV is going up $600. So the starting prices of those model lines are, for the Bolt EV, starts at $27,495, and then the Bolt EUV with the $600 increase would go up to $28,795. So for those of you that are like me, you're probably wondering, well, why is this all happening? And to be honest, depending on what article you read, you're kind of going to get a different story. GM was saying earlier on that they're they're trying to remain committed in providing value to their customers, and at the same time they're in some ways building record sales for 2022. Their Q3 and Q4, which was actually the second thing that I was going to talk about here, they posted record sales for the Bolt EV line of cars. A couple of months ago, they went, and actually it wouldn't have been a couple of months ago, it's been longer than that, but they dropped the MSRP, drastically. Like, we're talking about thousands of dollars. And then here we are, essentially New Year comes, 2023, and boom, they decided to raise the prices again. The only thing I can think of is that because their Q3 and Q4 numbers were so great, they figured they can up the price a little bit for various reasons. Maybe they're also having supply issues. I don't know what the ordering times are for current customers. Like, if you go on their site or if you go to a dealership and you order right now, I don't know what the turnarounds are. I know that my 2023 is still sitting in Georgia at the rail yard waiting to be delivered to me. So who knows? This is all speculation and everything that I could gather. You're pretty much going to have to go online, and I can put some of these links down in the description of where I found this information, and maybe that'll allow you to make up your own mind as to why or how or what their thought process is. It's a little crazy. But the one thing that I do want to note is that if you're looking at this, the Bolt EV prices, going up $900. If the starting price is $27,495 for the lowest model, that begs the question, since these are now eligible for the $7,500 federal tax credit that came in under the Inflation Reduction Act last August, or this past August, I guess, would that mean that the car is literally a $20,000 vehicle or $19,995 vehicle to start? I mean, that's something to consider too, that now GM has priced these to where the entry Bolt EV is sub $20,000. That could be great. There could be other incentives tied to that. Especially if you're looking at the fact that these are brand new 2023 model cars. I don't know. Again, that's in my mind. I didn't quite see anything that kind of cleared this up, but $7,500 tax credit, they're both eligible for it. I looked at the Inflation Reduction Act, and sure enough, both of these model cars are eligible for it. So, it is what it is. Inflation Reduction Act passed August of 2022. And then the interesting thing about the Q3 and the Q4 sales for me is, they're dealing with the recall. They're having customers, like myself. I mean, who am I to, to toot my own horn here? But you got people that are waiting for their cars to show up, in what are we looking at? We're now in the 8th month since this whole thing started back in June of 2022. Here we are, January, and I'm still no further than I was literally when I placed the order. I think it was July, August or something. We'd have to look back at some of the other videos because that whole calendar timeline of events is a mess for me. In fact, for the longest time, I was keeping my calendar on the computer populated with every single event. Like I had a color code for every single like GM or Chevy or dealership or Bolt EV event in my calendar to keep them straight, because I couldn't remember if it was the dealership that I talked to, or if it's the buyback coordinator that I talked to, or if it was somebody else, or if you're surrounded and pounded pretty much every week by various different things, you get to the point where your brain turns into a junkyard and you can't keep stuff straight. And so I decided to populate a calendar. And then as things started slowing down, like for the last, I don't know, 5-6 months, there's been absolutely nothing. I just stopped dealing with the calendar because there hasn't been anything new for me to look at, to reference, or anything. So, and the dealer prefers to text me, and so I have a text messaging thread with the dealership because that's somehow tied into their customer management system, so it's easy for them to just go whoop, and then it shows up on my phone. So whatever, I'm just glad that somebody takes the time to talk to me, but I'm certainly glad that GM had a record Q3 and Q4. Well, I don't know if it was a record, but it was best sales year ever. Right? So they called it the #1 mainstream series of Q3 and Q4, which I'm happy for them. But does that really help anything when customers are sitting waiting for their cars? So maybe not. I guess they're not making money off of me anymore because the car was a swap for a purchase that was made in 2020. So maybe I need to think about that a little bit differently. But I don't feel that way because I'm one of the customers that is literally sitting on their front porch waiting for the day that their car will be delivered, for no other reason than, something bad happened and GM they chose to fix the problem this way. This was their choice. This wasn't my doing. Nothing I could have done. And you know what's funny? They told me several times in writing, the buyback coordinator especially, she was very adamant that there was nothing I could have done differently to affect my situation either one way or the other. So I guess from that sentence, I'm taking it as whether I would have kept the car or whether I would have given the car back, I would have had some kind of trouble. Potentially, if I would have kept the car, I could have potentially had, the battery fire happen to me or some other issue happen to me that would render me carless. Or I gave it back and now I'm sitting waiting for a car. And you know what's funny? I think it was back in August of 2022. I reached out to them and I said, I need to know, and I think I shared it with you guys on YouTube. But I reached out to them and I asked them, does it make sense for me to go through the process of ordering a 2023 model vehicle, or is it just better for me to look at a vehicle that's already on the lot? And the stop sale had been lifted, everything was good to go. In fact, I remember trying to place deposits on some of the allocations that the dealership had to get a car, and I was willing to pay the $1,000 or whatever it was to put a hold on the car to get it to be in my name, only to find out that, when I went to place the deposit, the car was already sold. So the car was sold before it really ever got, before it ever left Michigan. So I guess that contributed to their rip in Q3 and Q4, but that still doesn't help me any. And I think that's pretty much all I have. And we're sort of beating a dead horse because, you guys already know the story. You guys have been around the block with me since the beginning. And, in some ways, both of these bullet points, although it's news, I'm not surprised. And I'm pretty sure none of you guys are either because, GM's not in the business to lose money. And when they dropped the MSRP, oh, I guess this is an interesting point. They dropped the MSRP originally for both models of the vehicles, but they didn't take out any features. So both cars were still equipped the same way they were when the prices were higher, in an effort to remain competitive in a EV world that was turned upside down for whatever reason, because all of the EV prices were, but yet GM was dropping them, right? So that was their way of getting a ridiculous, mainstream series of Q3 and Q4. Whatever that means, I don't even know, but it is what it is. So, yeah, you guys know what to do. Go down below, leave me your thoughts. Is anybody else bummed like I am? Or are you guys sick of me talking about this? Every day I wake up knowing that I don't have a vehicle to my name in my driveway. And you know what's worse? I don't think I've ever shared this with anybody. I'm still paying on the old Bolt EV. That old Bolt EV is still in my name. In fact, in some ways, I can still access the old Bolt EV in the My Chevrolet app. In fact, I'm going to give it a shot right now. Let's see where it's at. I remember I haven't done this in a few months, so this may be a little weird, but oh no, it's still there. Look at that. All four tires are at 30 pounds. There. Oh, sorry. I clicked on something other than I should have. But there you go. The main high voltage battery, they told me they would unplug it so the charge status doesn't show up. But OnStar still registers the tire pressure, and in some ways I can control it. Like I can unlock it, I can sound and stop the alarm. I don't know if I can do much of anything else, but if I look at the location, so the high voltage battery, when it was parked, registered at 70% state of charge, right? So I don't know if you could see that, and it's still in. I know this is blown out, but it says that it's at the Magic Mountain Parkway in Valencia, California, which is where I left the car. So it's still there. In fact, if I zoom in, Yeah, this is all blown out, but the car is right there where I parked it, right where that little car is there. Kind of funny, but it is what it is. Anyway, so in case you guys forgot, that's what my Bolt EV looked like. So, oh, it says unable to load vehicle info for the charging status. But like I said, all four tires are at 30 psi. So I don't think they're driving it. I guess they can't if they disconnected the battery. But I'm still paying for the car, and it's my wife has asked me several times about it, and the answer is simple. Because this is an MSRP swap, you can't stop paying for the old vehicle because you're doing a swap, and until you receive your new vehicle with the new financial agreement, they're going to look at how much you've already paid for the old vehicle. So if we know that I paid $44,000, excuse me, if we know that I paid $44,000 for my Bolt EV and I drove it for um, 18 months, 20 months. Yeah, what was it? So June, July, August, September, October, November. So it would have been a year and 7 months. Let's put it like that. So they're going to know how much I paid per month for 19 months, 20 months, whatever. And they're going to subtract that from the MSRP of the new vehicle, leaving with a balance. And then they're going to take the difference of what I paid and subtract it from that, if that makes any sense. The math is relatively simple. And I'm being told that the more I pay on the old Bolt EV, the less my 2023 is going to cost me in the long run. Also, you have to factor in the $6,000 drop when the car was ordered. So that was a thing. And I don't know if I'm going to get a tax credit on it because of the fact that A, I already got a tax credit on my old Bolt EV, and B, I'm technically not purchasing the vehicle in 2023. In fact, I'm not even purchasing it. I'm being given it in exchange for a car that I purchased years ago. I don't know. This whole process has been one I don't know after the other, and sometimes I feel like I owe you guys an apology because I don't have anything to give. I feel like this channel, 2 years ago started being this EV-centric channel to where I chose to not do any more IT stuff because that stuff never really went anywhere on YouTube, at least not on my channels. Other people have more luck with it. I guess my stuff just wasn't in, if you will. And that said, I decided to go and start recording my car, did some trips, did all of that, and the views just, in fact, the subscriber count went straight up. And, GM took that away from me in some ways. And I only have myself to blame because it was a choice that I made, right? It was a choice that I said, okay, well, if I'm going to have troubles with this car, because back then I had all sorts of troubles, even finding a parking spot sometimes was a challenge, then I'm just going to give it back. I'm going to make arrangements for the swap, and they're going to swap me out a new car, and, Bob's your uncle. Yeah. I feel like I got that hot dog hanging right here where, the car is literally 3 hours in that direction and I can't do anything about it. It's 3 hours in that direction in Georgia. And that's where it's been sitting. I don't know how they're taking care of it. I don't know if it's covered. I don't know if it's exposed to the elements. We had hurricanes come through here. We had incredible rainstorms, thunderstorms, hail, in the middle of the night in some cases, sub-freezing temperatures. Is the car outside? Is it inside? Is it in a warehouse? Is it air conditioned? Is it covered? All those questions. And what's funny is nobody, either from GM or from the dealership, can give me a straight answer. Like, they have agreements, they have partnerships or whatever with these companies that transport these vehicles from uh, Michigan or other places where they're manufactured to the regional centers where they're distributed to the dealerships. And you're telling me that nobody has somebody on speed dial to say, hey, how are our customers' cars being taken care of while they're sitting there waiting for transport? And I asked them that. I asked the dealer, I asked GM, and they're like, we don't have that information. In fact, a few videos ago, I mentioned to you guys that I wanted to know, how do we know if the vehicle is actually there? For all I know, it's been stolen and somebody's doing burnouts with it. Probably not, but, doing something with it, someplace. And, that's where they told me, oh, they got tracking, or oh, they got this, they got that. Okay, does anybody have like a ring cam that we can tie into and see these cars? I'm sure I'm not the only one that wants to know what the condition of their brand new vehicle, um, you know, potentially their second most expensive asset that they own, next to a house, of course, or whatever. That I'm sure people want to know what the state of their stuff is, their cars, their babies. In my case, it was the lifeblood of my business. For 2 years, that car took me, tens of thousands of miles all across California, and here we are. So, okay, I'm done beating a dead horse for the night. You guys have been with me for 23 minutes almost, so I'm going to leave it at that. But if you guys have any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, you know where to find me down below in the comments. Feel free to reach out. You know, we'll see what happens. But I guess kudos to GM for record Q3 and Q4. So, yay. In the meantime, I'll keep you guys posted. Have a good evening. As always, thank you for watching.